Hello, Alex. Thank you for joining us for this little chat. You're here from Andy's Man Club, just to tell us a little bit about who you are as an organisation, kind of what you do, and kind of how people can get involved. So I don't know if you want to just kind of start.
Yeah. So as you say, I'm Alex. I'm one of the Scottish trustees for the charity, and we actually started back in 2016 in Halifax, down in Yorkshire, when a young man, Andy Roberts, took his own life by suicide. As you can imagine, this left the family absolutely devastated. And Luke Ambler, who actually started it, had to tell his wife, which was Andy's sister, and his nephew, and he says that the lasting noise that the two of them let out is something that'll live with him forever. And that's kind of why I wanted to do something for men in general, because 75% of all suicides in the UK are male, which one suicide a year is too much for us. So he started Andy's Man Club. He was a rugby league player at the time, and kind of used his social influence to get a wee group up and running. Posted our first post the 30th of June 2016, and because of the response, they had their meeting a fortnight later, and 9 guys turned up, and that group's kind of grown from there, and people have accessed Halifax and then taken it back to their hometowns, and that's how we've kind of grown. We now have 28 groups across the whole of the UK, with another 4 or 5 in the pipelines. Would have had more, but obviously due to COVID just now, we're kind of on the back burner, and we've actually just started meeting again. So we're a peer-to-peer support group, and we meet every Monday night, 7 till 9, whether it's online or in person. And we sit in a circle, we've got a ball, and we run through 5 questions. First question is, how's your week been? Second question, any one positive from your week. So even if the guy's having a really, really shit time, we can always find a one positive, because he's walked through the door of the club, so he's still here. That's a positive. Question 3, and then you want to go off your chest, and that's where the meat and drink comes in, and it could be anything from silly wee things that build up into big massive things, through divorce, the childcare issues, child access issues, money issues, gambling, addiction, you name it. We've heard lots of it. And then normally in the community we break for a wee break, 10-15 minutes, cup of tea, and that's where the peer support comes in, because the guys then start interacting. If they've had experienced similar things, they can then say, well, this is what I did, this is who I spoke to, and it kind of works that way. And then we get back for questions 4 and 5, which are positive neurological response questions. So it gets you thinking of good stuff. So it could be your role model growing up, what superhero do you want to be? If you went on a road trip, what 3 people would you take, or what 3 things you would take? And so lots of positive questions. So it gets the guys thinking about when they were in a good space, they can start going back there and saying, well, I was happy there, I used this, I used that, and kind of put that back into their life. And we also kind of try and put in wee coping mechanisms and set them targets for the week, so they can come back and say, right, one positive thing you're going to do for yourself next week. And then when you come back next week, then we ask them, right, what did you do? What did you achieve? So it kind of gives them a sense of purpose and gives them techniques without them actually realising it.
Nice. That's a really effective way, I think, to look at it. You're almost incorporating the kind of ideals of CBT, but into sort of peer relationships and friends.
And quite sneakily, do you know what I mean? Without them even realising what they're going on. And the impact it has, you've got a guy walking in at the deepest, darkest, worst place he's ever been in, and he walks out the door after an hour and a half talking and getting stuff off his chest saying, I'll bring biscuits next week. Do you know what I mean? And that for us is essentially what we're there to do.
That's really nice. So you're saying you had, did you say 28?
28 groups, yeah. So we've got 6 in Scotland. So we started it, myself and my colleague Adam brought it up to Scotland, and we started in Perth, and then we opened in Dundee, Dunfermline, Glenrothes, St Andrews, Edinburgh, and we're looking to expand into Falkirk, Stirling area as well, and then hopefully getting across into Glasgow and the west side of the country as well, and just keep growing and just getting one. Our aim is to have one in every major town and city in the UK, and who knows, worldwide. We've got a facilitator at the moment who's emigrated to Florida, so he's been running some of the online stuff, so he's looking to get a group started over in Florida, and so go international, it'll be good. So
that's amazing. That's to have expansion ideas as well, and I think it's nice. So if people wanted to get involved, how would they do that?
Well, at the moment, we've just started back actual face-to-face meetings. So it's that the last 3 weeks it's just been for existing members only. So now we're welcoming you guys into the group. So if anyone does want to attend the meeting or knows someone that might want to attend the meeting, if they email info@andysmanclub.co.uk, they'll give them all the details. Obviously, due to COVID, we've got to follow and track and trace, so we can't just advertise, please turn up. We need people to get in touch so they can fill in the forms, so we know how many people we're expecting. Because if, at the moment, because of the social distance and that, we might have to on a Monday morning say, right, tonight we need an extra venue for Glenrothes, because the one at Glenrothes can't cope with more than 20 people, for example. So we might then need to look for another venue for that night just to cope with the demand. So that's kind of the reason that we're going behind, just people get in touch and they can send them our way. So
perfect. So you said you're based across, how many did you have it in the sort of local area? Glenrothes, Dunfermline?
Glenrothes, Dunfermline and St Andrews, basically across Fife, and obviously up into Dundee, Perth, Edinburgh. And we're looking to open hopefully in Rosyth as well, just to kind of alleviate the problem. And if we can start finding wee areas, we didn't want so many groups in Fife, but because of everything that's happened in the last 8 months, we're having to rethink how we kind of spread. So we are looking for pockets, and it could be that we end up in Kirkcaldy, Rosyth, Leaven, do you know what I mean? Just pop up in lots of different wee places just to kind of help, because Dunfermline was getting 40, 50 guys every week. So we can't actually cope with that just now. So we have to look at ways that we can cope, because we don't want to turn anyone away. The worst thing I want to do is be standing at the door through COVID and saying, you've no filled track and trace, can I let you in? Because I don't know what that guy's going to do. So for me, and I've said to all my guys, take them in. If we've got far too many, we'll say, right, we need 6 volunteers to go for a walk, and we'll just go for a walk and talk. So there's loads of ways that we can diversify it on the hoof, as it were, do you know what I mean, just to cope.
Well, that's really good that you've got volunteers there that would then kind of split you up into 2 groups so that everybody kind of doesn't get turned away.
Yeah. Well, even before COVID, if we had big numbers, in and over 20, we would split into smaller groups, because you can find that guys might get lost within that big group. So if you're sitting there with 30 guys in a room, you don't know anyone. It's very intimidating for anyone to walk into a room there and just start talking. So we do break off into smaller groups anyway. So.
And how did you, slightly off question, during COVID, how did you manage to keep in touch with people? Were you doing, did I see that you were doing some online things? Yeah,
we only actually missed, well, some of the groups only missed 1 week. Our guys down at head office were quite quick in getting Google Meets up and running, which we found after a few trials of different software was the most stable. So after the first week of no meetings, we had 6 groups trialling it, then we had 12, then we had 18, then we were up to the full 28, and we even started a newbie group. So it's challenged us how to develop the charity slightly different. So the online stuff will never go away now. We'll continue to use that, and we'll use that to grow Andy's Man Club. So for example, if we have 5 guys logging in from Falkirk onto online, we can say, well, there's a need for a group. Or if we're in 6 guys in London, there's a need for a group. So then we can look at them opening their own group in their hometown, and that's how we're planning now to grow the AMC across the UK.
Brilliant. So we've said how, like, if you wanted to get in touch to use the service, you would just email. Does your organisation take on anyone who would maybe want to become a sort of volunteer as well, if they've maybe done something like this in the past or elsewhere?
What we kind of say is we're not a professional service. We're peer support, and the guys that actually come through the group end up running the group. So, for example, myself and Adam started Perth group, and then when we went on to open Dundee, one of the guys that came through after a year was in a position to then start facilitating. So he now runs a group. The same's happened at every group. You've got guys coming through. So if any guys do want to get involved and think, well, I could help facilitate, then just get in touch. Come along to the meeting, see if it's for you, because as with everything, it's a personal taste. If it doesn't work for you, there's no point in saying I'm going to volunteer. Come along, give us a try. If it's something you want to stay involved with, then we'll certainly sort that.
That's amazing. And you found, just quickly, just because of it, I suppose, like with this peer-to-peer support, it's really do you find that's really beneficial in helping break down the kind of stigma attached to men's mental health? Because that's one of the biggest issues, isn't it? Is that men have to be tough.
100%. I mean, I remember going through my own crisis almost 6 years ago now, and I felt I was the only one that was going through it. But then if you walk into a room with guys that don't know each other, they're all sitting there, they're all talking about the same stuff, and you can take bits from each story. So that whole stigma of big boys don't cry, man up, shake it off, as far as we're concerned, that's all bullshit. And I'm happy to admit, I sit here and bubble. I watched a documentary the other night, bawling my eyes out, because I know the guy, do you know what I mean? So you shouldn't be embarrassed, do you know what I mean? And you're not on your own, do you know what I mean? There's, just before lockdown started, there was almost 1,000 men accessing Andy's Man Club on a Monday night. So there's loads of us out there that are going through similar shit, and you just need to reach out, and someone will support you through it. And you'll end up with 100 brothers that you never thought you'd ever have, and go out for coffees and go for walks and go to football. And do you know what I mean? There's a real social aspect to it as well on the offside of it.
That's amazing. That's really good. I think it's really important to share. So I thank you for joining me to kind of have this discussion and put it out there. Is there anything that you would want to say to the students of college?
Thanks for inviting me along to speak. We're all over Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. So if you like and share us, and you don't have to be a male to follow us. Majority of our audience on Facebook is from the female side of it, and they're the ones that actually get their partners, brothers, husbands to come along to the group, because they can see it's going to help. So all I would ask, if you're going through a shit time, just please reach out to someone. Don't think that you're on your own, because you're not. And there's other organisations out there. It's not just Andy's Man Club. So just please speak to someone, and don't do it alone.
Perfect. Well, we've been sharing your posts for about 12 months. But yes, I would thank you again for joining us.
No bother.
And hope you have a great day.
Yeah, thanks for having me.